and found the previous government were running an open borders experiment. That is 4 times the migration levels compared with 2019.
In this video, I'll reveal the 5 key components of Labour's secret Balkan deportation plan that they didn't want you to know about. From the countries involved to the financial arrangements, the legal challenges they're preparing for, and the brewing rebellion within their own party ranks. You'll learn exactly how this plan differs from the Rwanda scheme they opposed, why the UN's International Organization for Migration is supporting it, and why charities are calling it a new low in migrant treatment. By the end, you'll understand why this represents perhaps the most significant policy U-turn in recent British political history. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Remember how Keir Starmer stood at the dispatch box, righteous indignation blazing in his eyes as he condemned the Rwanda scheme as immoral, unworkable and a cynical distraction?
Time and again, the Conservative Party promised they would get the numbers down. Well, that's unforgivable. And mark my words, this government will turn the page.
Well, it seems principles have a remarkably short shelf life in the corridors of power. Just 8 months into Labour's administration, a shocking new plan has emerged that has many asking, what happened to those lofty moral standards? Labour officials are now eyeing the Balkans as their own offshore processing solution. Not Rwanda this time, but Albania, Serbia, Bosnia, and North Macedonia, countries with questionable human rights records of their own. The irony is painfully obvious.
Time and again, they failed. And now the chorus of excuses has begun. Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck.
After spending years denouncing the Conservatives' plans to send asylum seekers abroad, Labour is now pursuing a remarkably similar path under a different name. The mechanics of this scheme are particularly troubling. Rather than the pre-hearing approach of the Rwanda policy, Labour's Balkan plan would target failed asylum seekers after they've exhausted their appeals. It's a technical distinction that does little to address the fundamental ethical concerns they once raised about offshore processing. Even more disturbing is the financial arrangement. Starmer's government plans to pay these Balkan nations for each migrant they accept, creating exactly the type of transactional relationship they previously decried.
And found the previous government were running an open borders experiment. That is 4 times the migration levels compared with 2019.
In an almost unbelievable twist, Labour officials have set their sights on 2 empty migration detention centres in Albania that were originally built for an Italian asylum deal, a deal that was ultimately blocked in court. These ready-made detention facilities represent a convenient solution for a government desperate to look tough on immigration, regardless of the human cost. What's particularly surprising is the UN's International Organization for Migration's apparent support for these so-called return hubs. Despite serious humanitarian concerns, they've indicated a willingness to advise and assist in implementing the policy. This stamp of international approval provides convenient cover for Labour's moral about-face. Perhaps most disturbing is the fate awaiting migrants from countries deemed unsafe, like Afghanistan and Iran. These individuals could face indefinite detention in these Balkan facilities, neither able to return to their dangerous homelands nor move forward with their lives. They become human collateral in Labour's political calculations, trapped in a bureaucratic limbo far from public view. As migrants become pawns in Labour's political game abroad, the party faces a reckoning much closer to home. What happens when a political movement betrays the very principles that defined it?
The Independent Office of National Statistics has conducted vital work on the state of immigration. The ONS sets out Nearly 1 million people came to Britain in the year ending June 2020.
The answer is unfolding right now, with Labour's own ranks fracturing over what many see as a fundamental betrayal of values that once formed the party's moral backbone. The internal rebellion has already begun, with senior figures like Diane Abbott publicly breaking ranks. Her accusation that Starmer is balancing the books on the backs of Britain's poorest and most vulnerable isn't just harsh rhetoric, it's the first public crack in a facade that's rapidly crumbling. Abbott's criticism speaks to a deeper discontent brewing within the parliamentary party, where whispers of betrayal have transformed into open challenges to leadership.
But what we didn't hear, what the British people are owed, is an explanation. This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed.
This immigration policy shift doesn't exist in isolation. It forms part of a troubling pattern, alongside benefit cuts and tax increases that have left many Labour supporters questioning what exactly their party stands for in 2024. The contradiction becomes even more glaring when examining statements from cabinet ministers themselves. During a recent meeting, Foreign Secretary David Lammy reportedly admitted having a family member claiming benefits when they probably should not be, unwittingly exposing the hypocrisy at the heart of Labour's new approach to both welfare and immigration. The rebellion isn't limited to Westminster. At the grassroots level, local Labour insiders are sounding alarm bells about a potential mass exodus of members ahead of local elections. These are the campaigners, the door knockers, the true believers who put their faith in Starmer's promises of a more compassionate approach to politics. Their disillusionment threatens to hollow out the party's campaign infrastructure just when it needs it most. On the legal front, Labour's Balkan scheme faces formidable challenges. The European Court of Human Rights has previously ruled against similar deportation arrangements, creating a potential legal minefield for Starmer's government.
It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. Deliberately, to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose.
Human rights organisations and immigrant advocacy groups are already preparing challenges, with the Refugee Council and Amnesty International dismissing these proposals as mere headline-grabbing gimmicks that represent a new low in the treatment of vulnerable migrants. The political calculation behind this strategy is transparent yet precarious. Starmer's team believes appearing tough on immigration will neutralise attacks from the right while assuming the left has nowhere else to go. It's a dangerous gamble that underestimates both the principles of their base and the legal obstacles ahead. And so we witness the remarkable transformation of a party that once positioned itself as the moral compass on immigration. The latest polling data speaks volumes. Labour's dramatic policy shift has triggered a crisis of trust among voters, with a majority now viewing their stance as inconsistent with previous commitments. This erosion of public confidence should worry Starmer's team deeply. What's particularly concerning for Labour is the expert analysis suggesting this U-turn could have devastating electoral consequences. The party now walks a precarious tightrope, attempting to appear tough on immigration while risking alienation of their core supporters who believed in their human rights principles. Those who prioritise ethical treatment of migrants find themselves politically homeless. The real question isn't whether Labour can implement these controversial deportation schemes, but whether they can survive the credibility collapse they've inflicted upon themselves. As one policy after another contradicts their campaign promises, we're left wondering if this government has any principles left at all, or if power has simply corrupted their moral clarity entirely.